All right, let's talk about the race here in Germany with Tarik Abou-Chadi. He's a political scientist here at Berlin's Humboldt University. Good morning. Thanks for being with us. Do you think Germany's upcoming election has just become a lot more competitive?
The Social Democrats definitely feel that way. It's like there's a wave of enthusiasm and optimism I think the Social Democrats haven't seen in a while. Everyone sees Martin Schulz as definitely the stronger candidate than Sigmar Gabriel. Still, if you look at the polls, they made up a bit of ground, but it's still going to be very, very tough to beat Angela Merkel and actually become the strongest party.
Now, speaking about the polls, the latest polls actually showed that Martin Schulz and Angela Merkel are tied at a head-to-head contest, 41% each. But that's not how Germany chooses its leader.
Yes, so people vote for parties and not for a candidate directly. Since there are several parties, especially since the left is quite fragmented, it's going to be tough for the SPD to actually become the strongest party. At the moment, they are around 23%, so this is definitely very far away from the CDU that is in the high 30s. Last election, the CDU or the CDU-CSU ended up with over 40% of the vote. So to actually become the strongest party, they will have to make up a lot of ground. On the other hand, they might have a coalition without being the strongest party in the end.
We've already heard from Martin Schulz and his messaging that he seems to be campaigning on a very strong anti-Trump agenda. How much do you think that's going to resonate with German voters?
I think there's a good... this might work out well, although the problem with that strategy is that Angela Merkel, too, is very popular. And also, in the international context at the moment, she's basically seen as this last pillar of liberal democracy. So challenging this will be very difficult on the one hand. On the other hand, Martin Schulz is really the man associated with the European Union and probably the man most hated, most despised by all types of right-wing populists on the whole continent. So he's really associated with taking on right-wing populists. Remember him against Silvio Berlusconi a long time ago. So I think he can play that out, and he's very authentic in his fight against right-wing populism.
So speaking of right-wing populism, both candidates will be fighting the rise of the populist party here in Germany, the AfD, Alternative for Germany. Do you think that the current levels of support that they've seen will actually hold up through to the national elections?
It's very tough to make predictions about right-wing populists, as we've seen in the last year, but I think their chance of getting into the Bundestag are very, very high. I think we should get ready for having this party in the Bundestag. If it's 8%, if it's 12%, that's very difficult to tell. I think much will depend on what the established parties will do. Will they play the game of the AfD and then actually strengthen them with constantly talking about refugees, migrants, or will they be united in a way of having a campaign that really focuses on other issues or focuses on the issue of immigration, but not making it about not using the rhetoric that the AfD tries to insert into the debate.
What about the other side of the spectrum? With the rise of this populist party, do you think that we could see Germany's left-wing parties actually start to work more closely together?
On the one hand, you can see that the left party is really struggling at the moment. They're losing their role as the anti-establishment, as the populist, the strongest challenger party. So it's hard to predict. On the one hand, you can really see that a big share of the party is ready to be in government, wants to govern with the other two left parties. But then you have a fraction of the party headed by Sarah Wagenknecht, where it's very difficult to see them actually being in a coalition, being in charge of German foreign policy too, for example. So this coalition is definitely going to be tough to form should they have a majority.
And what about Chancellor Merkel herself? How has she been able to keep up her popularity levels with all that she has struggled through in the past 2 years?
That is a very good question. I mean, if we knew that, it's not that easy, I guess. She has been. I mean, her pragmatism, I think, has been a very good contrast to the machismo politics that have surrounded her in the past years. So I think voters have seen that. Also, Germany has been doing well comparatively. On the other hand, I want to say that 2 years ago, things looked very different, right? Now, in contrast to Brexit, to Theresa May, to Donald Trump, she seems very pragmatic, very popular, very liberal. But if you think about the Greece crisis, for example, the image of her in Europe was quite different. So it's going to be a tough campaign for her, too. She's not as invincible, I would say, as she was 4 years ago.
All right, Tarik Abou-Chadi from Berlin's Humboldt University. Thanks so much for being with us this morning.
Thank you.